Welcome to my channel, guys. Today we're going to go over Energy Web and whether or not this project is expected to see price growth over time. Okay, so this channel is a diagram channel. It uses diagrams to check the overall health of a project to see if a project is expected to perform. First things first, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I am just a guy recording his methodologies to see how effective they are at getting a good return on investment. So you see that there's several different colors within this project. Green represents something that would contribute, is like everything's probabilities in investing. We're using a probability curve. And green is what we expect to contribute to price. Yellow is something that we expect that is unknown or neutral contribution to price, and red is something that is likely to detract from price. So ultimately, we arrived at the conclusion that I do not expect this project's price to perform in the future. However, this is my personal take, and I may entirely be wrong. So, take your own take. Okay, so the summary of what this project is, one of the things that they have is the origin, so what does it currently solve? Currently solved means that it's something that's up and running now and people are using it. So they have something called the Origin Toolkit, which allows for customers to see where they are getting their power from. It's currently live in Turkey and Thailand. I personally do not think that that's a large value proposition. I think it's cool that people want to know where they're getting their power from, whether it's clean energy or not. Now, maybe in the future, governments will require certain businesses to comply to certain energy sources. But still, I don't see a lot of value being driven, because it would be just minor transactions. It wouldn't generate a large amount of value. Another kind of thing that this project does is it's a consortium of the energy sector. They're going for the energy sector, so that's a very good thing. It's good that they're narrowly focused on the energy sector because they're more likely to achieve their objectives because of that narrow focus. So they're a consortium of big business. They have a lot of big business partnerships. That's very good for this project as well. And the project is 30 times faster than Ethereum and 2 to 3 times less energy cost. And it could be the base layer tech for novel business models. But before you get excited about this is because their consensus mechanism is proof of authority. So Ethereum could have had these trade-offs as well. Ethereum could have came out of the gate at the same kind of performance if they did not have the proof of work consensus mechanism. And we'll get further into what that means when I go over the diagram, the overall project's health. Okay, so what problem would this project solve in the future, and is it valuable? So a lot of crypto YouTube channels have been promoting this project as the best investment ever. And one of the reasons they're doing that is because of this Flex device. And this device is a utility. It allows for utility companies to trust electric vehicles to behave in certain ways at certain times. The programmability of the Tesla cars or electric cars of the future will be able to be predictable and trusted. And this Flex device, they built it to spec for Tesla cars and Powerwalls. And so people are speculating that they have a partnership with Tesla, which they have not disclosed. It is entirely possible that they have a partnership with Tesla, in which case they would capture a lot of growth from the electric car industry. So, but this is speculation at this time. And this project is a $370 million market cap. I mean, that's pretty large. But if they got this partnership, they still would be capturing some significant value from that. Yeah. So they have built this to spec to electric cars, to Tesla cars. Tesla is likely to capture most of the electric car market in the future because Tesla is one of the most innovative companies in the world. Okay, so foundational component. So this could be like the foundation of the electric industry for blockchain. If they get those lucrative business partnerships, And yes, if they capture the correct business partners, we're not only talking about Tesla. We can talk about partners such as the solar industry. So and I do believe these guys are very good at making partnerships. They already have, like Shell company, which is a big oil company. They have a bunch of they have a really good partner set. So I don't doubt their ability to capture a lot of this foundational component of the energy sector. It's entirely possible. So if they were to capture all of it, the maximum, there's $1.4 trillion in revenues in the entire energy sector in the world. Plus, there would be efficiencies generated from new blockchain technology being added to the energy sector, such as creating value through this platform. So, the P/E ratios that are acceptable, if energy ratios would stay the same, if energy costs would be the same, or the energy revenues, it would be whatever efficiencies to that 1.4 that they generate. So let's say they did 10%, and then it would be, so that would be equal, and then that would be how much money that they would save the energy sector. So it would be like 0.14 trillion, and then you multiply that by 15 P/E ratio, and that would get you roughly at the value, at the value that these efficiencies would be worth. So it's not, it is pretty dang large. But I'll keep moving forward. Okay, so does the team have a track record for showing that they can deliver? Well, they have a relationship with the Parity Group, which Gavin Wood is a part of. And Gavin actually mentioned this project personally when he was on stage, and talking about it using Polkadot's bridges. And so, that means they're working together with Gavin Wood. And to me, that gives you all the validity that you need, because this is going to have a bridge to the parachains, and it also has, this is the best blockchain developer in the world. So yeah, and he's not going to work with people who he doesn't think have understanding. But we'll get deeper into what who the team members are. Okay, so 2 mission critical components of any project are that the token is used for services, and that they do have a lot of room for growth in the target market that they're targeting. So, if a project doesn't have its token tied to its services, it's useless, because you're not going to realize value propositions. And you can see, yes, the token is used for services, but it's not used for governance. It pays for transaction fees on the network, which is gas, the same as Ethereum, and it pays validators from gas fees. But I personally do not like that model. The reason that worked for Ethereum is because Ethereum was the new arrival, but I don't believe that it's a huge value generator. Just paying for fees, it doesn't give you a good incentive to hold the token. But we'll go over this whole thing as to why. We reached the ultimate conclusion that I personally do not expect this project to perform. I could be entirely wrong. Okay, so one thing to note, this project can be highly successful at its goal, but doing so does not equate to price performance. And that's all we care about. If we were, as investors, we only care about price performance. We don't care how successful they are. So it's not necessarily tied. Future increase in demand for token, not expected to go up. Okay, so the current market served expected growth. None. I personally don't think there's any growth for that origin toolkit, or at least it's small enough. I think that it's actually, the reason it's red to pull away from price is because it pulls away efforts away from more lucrative services. It pulls human resources away from things that I would personally find more lucrative. Once again, everything here is subjective, so you can take my information as you please. So the future market excitement from price minimum, I don't expect that to happen. I do not expect current awareness is not low. It's an extremely hyped by a bunch of crypto YouTubers, so this project is extremely hyped. I've heard it pushed by a bunch of YouTubers, so I don't think that When something's pushed like that, that means that people have already bought in once it's already been pushed. So it's not whether they have a marketing campaign. I know that they did a marketing campaign a while ago, and once again, it's been pushed by a bunch of crypto channels. So it's already been promoted. You want to get in something before it's promoted. All right, so here's something good. Their team followers have like 0 followers, and the project Twitter has like 9,000. So maybe a lot of people haven't jumped in on this project, which is good. That could be indicative that a lot of people know about this project, but they haven't jumped in. I mean, this project has a really high market cap, so I don't think that's the case. But yes, from the Twitter component, it has relatively low awareness. Okay, so is it on any exchanges? It's in between. It's not like everywhere, and it's not super difficult. If you know how to use Uniswap, you can have access to this token. So it's not. And I think it has a bridge to Ethereum. That's why it can do that, because it is its own blockchain. But this project is relatively easy to access, not super difficult, not super easy. You want to get in the projects while they're difficult to acquire. When a project is on like some unknown exchange somewhere and no one knows about it, but it has huge potentials, those are what you want. This project is in between on that. So it goes through this portal and contributes to how aware people are of it. All right, so let's go with inflation. I didn't see anything mentioned about inflation. I guess that there will not be inflation. I could not find it even mentioned in the white paper or ever mentioned on any of their interviews. I know I put several hours into researching this project. I couldn't find it anywhere. But just keep in mind that there's no mention. It can be voted into anything based on the voting mechanism of this project, which is their consensus is proof of authority, and we'll get into what that is. And the people control of the people who have voting power of this project are those who generate gas fees. But we'll get deeper into that later. So I don't expect inflation to be too detrimental because it's not even mentioned. But we'll get into other things that will take away from price. So the token supply distribution is terrible. That's something that will take away from price. Less than 45% of the tokens are released. But they did make the statement like the tokens will be released slowly over time. But yeah, less than 45 is released, and you can find the details in the white paper or in my sources provided, and you'll see the breakdown of that. One of the things that they mention is that they're supposed to spend that money or whatever money they have responsibly. It's Swiss enforced by regulatory bodies. This project is highly regulated. It works with governments because of that proof of authority approach in the Swiss nation state in which they are founded. Okay, so it has been extremely bullish. Like the price performance has gone extremely up, extremely fast. It's 13x in 4 months. So that is not a good thing. You never want to buy something when it's been in an extreme bull market. You want to buy something that's been in a bear market and that's actually worth more than people are paying. Like people are delusional about it. That's what you want to buy. And this is not the case. This thing is, it's been on a bull track for a while. Okay, so the niche it's that origin toolkit, which allows for people to see where they're getting their power from. I personally think that takes away from the focus of more lucrative things. But, maybe they have an approach to that would seem profitable to them. It's good to have that for what you could do is that could be a base layer ability for other ideas. Like you have other ideas and they don't function without this origin toolkit capability. So, maybe there's a tech stack or a product stack that it would be like the base layer, or it'd be a component of this tech stack, which would be in itself a product and would need this. So maybe it's something like that they have in mind. But right now, I don't see the value of that. But if that's the case, where it's just a component of a bigger product stack, then this would be yellow rather than red, because it would be actually like their efforts wouldn't be wasted in my opinion. This is an extremely high market cap, 378.9 million. At least for crypto, that's pretty large. So, I expect the tokens on the sell side to increase. I expect price performance to be pulled back. And I believe over time, money needed to move prices up will increase. The amount of money needed because there's going to be more tokens released into the supply. All right, so we reached the conclusion that I do expect, and this is very, very low. I would put, maybe closer to yellow. I expect there to be a small amount of tokens per person to decrease over time. And the reason for that is because more people will be using this product in the future. So I do expect, the tokens per person to decrease, because I do expect more. I do expect them to make more partnerships. I do expect more people to come into the space using this project. I would expect that. They're very good at forming partnerships. Fees that burn tokens, that's not going to contribute anything because that's not part of their model. All right. So project is easy to use. I saw a demonstration of their Origin product. So yes, that looked easy to use, and even for their target market, which will be technically capable people, that'll be something. Yes, that'll be easy to use for their target markets. People using the product to go up, I do expect that to happen. More likely to do. Okay, so let's get to the governance before I reach that, because this comes from a lot of the governments, and we'll see what happens there. So there is no the token in this project is not used for governance. It doesn't have voting rights. It doesn't have any governance rights. So this is irrelevant for that. This is a powerful mechanism when a token is used, which is added voter weight, which means if you lock up your it's irrelevant for this project, so I won't even mention it. Okay, so token is not given any vote, but it is given, those who use the network the most are the ones who are given the largest vote. So there is protection from custodial exchange voting. It's protection from people who didn't buy in from this project. Those people aren't going to have a big vote, like people who have not bought into this project. Okay, so those who bought in are voters. Let's go ahead and go deep into the governance. So it's governed by GAS, Know Your Customer Partnerships. So to explain what proof of authority is, in blockchain, you have nodes that run the network. In Ethereum, it could be anyone. For this one, okay, so the fastest possible blockchain is not a blockchain at all. It would be a central authority, and you just trust this central authority, and they just do all the transactions like a regular computer. It'd be the fastest thing ever. But what this project does is it picks the nodes. They decide who these nodes are. And these are their partnerships, these nodes. And so they're preset. Not anyone could be them. And they have to pass regulation, and they have to do a know your customer filter. So these are all their partnerships. The nodes in this system are all business partnerships, and they have to agree to. So that could be bullish, that could be bearish. It depends on your take on that. But I do believe that they would all, initially at least, come to contractual agreements, and those blockchain technology, it's powerful, more powerful than the current business setups that we see today. So blockchain, I do think that it is powerful to have proof of authority, because you have a bunch of businesses that can agree to a certain contractual agreements, and you could with blockchain, you could track how well they abide by those contractual agreements. So yes, blockchain is extremely useful for a lot of things, even something where it's not anyone could join. It's more the nodes in the network are determined by this central authority that decides, at least in the beginning, who and who is not acceptable to be nodes. So it's let's see here. Yeah, so those who run a lot of traffic through their applications. So those validator nodes that I just mentioned, they make revenues from the system being used in the sense of transaction fees. So they want the network to be used, and people who have the largest vote. The governance structure of this project is based on those validators. They get the largest vote for the amount of transactions that they see through their node. And so the idea behind that is those who are using the network the most have the biggest vote. And they'll put some caps on that to make sure no one gets a monopoly and things like that. But that's the premise behind their voting. They don't think that token holders are the best choice. They think that, and they don't think that they think that that they won't be technically competent or whatever their reasoning. They believe that only those who drive volume through the network should have a voice in the governance. And so let's start with the first point that I believe is a point to make is so that since these people aren't token holders, they do want the price to go up because they're earning revenues in this token, but it's not their only thing. They also want more transactions. So price performance of the token is not their primary drive. There's other drives because of this governance model. So they also have a drive for driving more transactions, driving more fees. But they'll reach some market because they have different validators in this network. They'll reach some market point that the fees will arrive at. Because no one's in total control, but we'll get into that. Okay, so desire for more network usage, yes. So they probably want the price to go up. They do because they earn their fees in it, but they also want usage to go up, and that's not necessarily contributing to price. That desire for the network to be used may or may not contribute to price performance. Depending on whatever they end up enacting in the future. So for inflation, who cares? We don't have to hold the token, so why would we care about inflation? They don't have to use the token for anything but network fees. So they could just buy the token the moment they need it to use. Their customers need effort, and then they could sell it the moment it's done being used. There's no point in holding it because they just use it for network fees. And the reason Ethereum saw such a high price appreciation with this token model is because it was the first one, and because it was the first one to offer these different abilities, and it had that huge retail investor space that came in and got excited about it. That's the reason Ethereum has realized. There was even a period when Ethereum was crashing, and people are saying, "Oh, it's no longer useful because it's only used for ICOs." And now that the ICO stage is over, the high ICO stage, there's no point to holding Ethereum. So there's all of these things seen, but yeah. I just don't like that model. This is all subjective. Okay, so the price rise, despite it's not completely gone, it's just shared with other desires. Yeah, so they desire the price to rise, but it's not completely it's not completely their focus. It's shared with other drives. They have, Okay, so the risk of partnerships. Okay, so one of the risks I could see with a risk of, there's something called, with the risk of partnerships, if you get majority of the traffic and these you have shadow partnerships with that arise in the future, you can get a system failure from that. So I don't like that. And where I'm coming from that, these are kind of related. If you know anything about business, you know something about the Pareto principle, and it's very common. And a lot of things happen It's like it's the 80-20 rule. And usually with anything, you get like one company will get 80% of traffic and then the rest will get the 20. And that happens all the time. And for me, that's a risk factor, because if you get 80% of the traffic in this project, you're going to have, even if it's avoided at first, you can have these shadow partnerships in the future. That's all the risks that are possible in the future, based on the governance structure of this. So yeah, if you get a majority of the market share, majority of the transactions, but one of the things that they do to limit that is they put a cap on voting power. But if you have shadow partnerships, they won't know that. All of this is speculation. Vote for high activity stuff, just to get fees. So yeah, they would probably vote, like one of their incentives could be to vote for high activities, whatever that could be. You can use your imagination, like something that customers are willing to pay for or unknowingly get charged for, that would generate fees, would generate traffic. And because that's where their revenues come from. Not that would happen. It's just like, once again, so a lot of people like this project, and it's entirely possible I'm wrong, but this is just my take on it. So I don't see it as being those who bought in get the vote. They don't get to vote. And so here, let me get this. I would say governance aimed at capturing value for token holders. I would say that's a major focus, but it's not their primary desire based on their governance model. So proof of authority, I've already explained what that is. You're basically insiders club. You're not. You're hand selected. You are hand selected partnerships. There's no programmed penalties for bad actors. Others will see that bad actor behavior. And also, this project, one benefit it has is it could work with regulators, governing agencies, because if who the nodes are, the nodes could register with the government. They can get, the government can go talk to these guys and make sure they're all in regulatory compliance. It could have a regulatory body over this. So for things that work directly with the government, this project could capture a lot of value from that by working directly with the government. But given this government model, I would say it's uncertain. Like, this yellow means uncertain. So I'm not really saying it's negative. I'm saying I personally find it uncertain. We don't know if this is going to elect high value people to prioritize upgrades in the future. Okay, so that contributes, having the people contribute to everything. So that adds uncertainty to clear future mission statements, the long-term vision and strategy, and that adds uncertainty to the partnerships in the future. And you could also see that it goes up here, and future marketing plans. I expect that to still be bullish even in the future, because all they got to do is market this to their target market. Because they want, I think the incentive structure is for to get people to use this network. So I do expect them to market it to people who would be the primary users. And I do expect future awareness to increase, because they desire more activity on chain, so they want more users. Okay, so let's go over to the team. They have impressive achievements, subjective, impressive achievements for the team. They're talented people, but they didn't have anything that stood out to me that was like, like building Solidity. There's a lot of projects in the crypto space that have powerful things like that. But they're very talented people. Okay, so they work at Solidity, or they have a lot of Solidity developers, and they work in the Parity ecosystem, which is that Ethereum ecosystem. They're very smart people. They have molecular simulations technology. I actually took in some of that. My background in biotechnology. They have parallelization of kernel optimization. So they worked with kernels. Working with the kernel it's the shell. It's a programming capabilities. They're capable programmers. And you have blockchain lead at Shell. So these guys know what they're doing regarding programming. And also Gavin Wood is a filter in of itself, and he's mentioned this project. He's worked with these people, so to me, he knows if someone's capable or not. So he's a good enough vouch for any team, in my opinion. So we do expect the current developer team to be good. For their target market, I do think that they're the best option, just because of they're in a good position working with Polkadot. And if you've seen my Polkadot video, you should go check that out. Polkadot, I believe, is the best project in all of cryptocurrency right now. And they will be in a good position to work with Polkadot. Well, actually, Polkadot will benefit from them using the parachain. Polkadot's design is great. I love Polkadot. Okay, but this is not about Polkadot. Strategic partnerships, they're great with their partnerships. They're doing great with that. People are very bullish on this because they believe it works with Tesla, but that's not been proven yet. So that's speculation. They work with so it's up in the air. Parity, great partnership, and big players like Shell. So yeah, they're doing good with partnerships. I saw a lot of research on that, and they have a bunch of people. They're good with that. Best option of the competition, so that contributes to large business models. So large businesses will probably work on this chain, and so that will contribute to large businesses working in the demanding the token in the future. Well, actually, I should put this as yellow, even though it's those things would contribute to this, but this doesn't end up contributing. It doesn't end up contributing. Actually, so I should change the wording of this to say large businesses will be working with the project in the future. And then whether or not that contributes to price is dependent on them needing to buy in to the project in the future. They have to, why would they buy the token? Because they want governance, right? But let me finish up these areas down here. Before I get to why that was red. So developer compensation, they're like employees of this whole system because it's proof of authority. So it's like big companies, and the people they hire will be the ones. So they're just going to have jobs, straight up, like not working for themselves, but working for these large companies. So they'll be like employees. So yeah, they'll have wages, and they will be compensated. So that's the model that I expect developers to be motivated from getting wages, predictable wages. They have a clear mission statement, which is accelerating the energy transition with open source, decentralized blockchain platforms. So they have a good mission statement. The long-term vision and strategy, even though the current team is good, because of their governance structure, I don't know if they're going to have a long-term vision and strategy. The governance model creates a lot of uncertainties, such as high-value upgrades. I don't know if that's going to be the case. The value of the services provided to increase in the future. It will in the short term, like 5-year span. I do expect their values to keep pushing through. But because of the governance model, I don't know how things are going to turn out. It's just uncertainty. That's all it is. Developer motivation. Once again, they have a good mission statement, and they also have good. They'll be compensated because it's like they'll be employees of those conglomerate of companies that will come together and work to make this space. Those that think long term, they're hand-picked partnerships, and once again, the token value is not necessarily their main focus. So I do, that contributes neutral. All right, so finally we get here, and why. The reason I draw this crazy is because it's a powerful force. And what that is whether or not they can capture business model demand for their token. In this case, I don't see that happening because there's no reason to own a token. Why hold the token? It's only used for transaction fees. So they could just buy the token before they do a transaction and sell it right after the transaction or use it for the transaction. You know, it's just not a good value proposition model, in my opinion. This is, you know, my subjective opinion. So I don't see them capturing a lot of that business demand. And also, the token doesn't represent governance, so why would they own it? The token used for services, barely. I don't think it's going to contribute because, once again, it's just used for transaction fees. It's used for gas in the same way gas is used for Ethereum. So why would that? It's just not a huge demand creator. The value of target market is large. I do think it is very large, but this project's not in a good position to capture that. So ultimately, we arrived that I do not expect it to be that great of a performer. And that is my review of EnergyWeb. A great team, great project, great ideas. But ultimately arrive at the conclusion this project, it could be highly successful, but I don't see that its token performance is necessarily tied to that.